Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and we are here today with more news and politics. This is for what is the day? Saturday, September the 21st, 2024. Now, we are starting off with some news from ProPublica. Emails reveal how Walz struggled to deal with unrest, reach consensus with critics after police killings. So yeah, remember, Tim Walz was governor of Minnesota during the George Floyd protests. And yeah, there's a lot that went on. I mean, honestly, you can't bring a hammer down on it because they're trying to protest for what? Police violence, and using more police violence. Is it going to fix things? So yeah, in the spring of 2021, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz faced multiple crises. The trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin was for the murder of George Floyd was coming to a close. As the 1 year anniversary of Floyd's death approached, authorities were preparing for the kind of unrest that had damaged or destroyed long stretches of the city in 2020. Meanwhile, a package of police reform bills was stalled in the divided Minnesota state legislature. Then, on April the 11th, 2021, a police officer shot and killed 20-year-old Daunte Wright during a traffic stop in the northern Minneapolis suburb of Brooklyn Center, touching off a fresh round of protests, clashes with the police, and criticism of Walz after he sent in hundreds of officers in armored vehicles that had been readied in anticipation of the trial's aftermath. In the midst of all this, Walz still saw an opening to bring police reform to Minnesota and provide a national model for systemic change. He feared the 2021 session would be his last, best chance to do so. But he told the Reverend Jesse Jackson, who made repeated trips to Minneapolis during the upheaval after Floyd's death, that local politics were getting in the way. I wish I could do more on our progress, Walz told Jackson in a call transcribed by a staff member. Both you and President Obama mentioned that Minnesota should be the state that could get this right. That's a responsibility that we have in Minnesota. The clamorous close of the 2021 legislative session and Walz's role in trying to enact police reform in response to the police killings of Floyd and Wright plays out in a cache of thousands of internal emails from the Walz administration obtained by ProPublica and the Minnesota Reformer. The emails were requested that summer by independent journalist Tony Webster, but the administration only recently finished turning them over. Webster shared them with the news organizations. Though the emails are limited, covering about 11 weeks from April to June 2021, they provide a closer, more detailed look at how Walz tried to leverage his influence on the legislative process. They reveal a politician who seems to be a careful listener in one-on-one conversations with grieving mothers and black activists, freely giving out his personal cell phone number and invitations to the governor's mansion. And they show how Walz struggled to balance the need for order in the streets against his credibility with activist allies while simultaneously trying to bridge the ideological divide between progressives in his party and pro-law enforcement conservatives. He likes being liked. Former state representative Patrick Garofalo, a Republican, said of how Walz operates. He's thinking about political survival, and it's nothing more complicated than that. The guy's not an ideologue. Since Vice President Kamala Harris selected Walz to be her running mate, the governor has rocketed to national prominence, praised by Democrats for his progressive Midwestern dad image, while labeled a dangerously liberal extremist who wants to defund the police by Harris's opponent, former President Donald Trump. Walz has never advocated defunding the police, as is typical Republican lies. The Trump campaign has also tried to cast Walz's response to the 2020 unrest as weak and ineffectual, despite the fact that at the time Trump praised Walz for deploying the National Guard, calling it a beautiful thing to watch. In the end, Walz emerged from his 2021 special legislative session with a compromise bill on police reform that seemingly satisfied no one. For some Democrats, it didn't go far enough. Many called the bill a disappointment. Some Republicans felt it went too far. The next year, facing re-election, Walz received no major law enforcement endorsements. He is not a radical, said Michelle Phelps, a University of Minnesota sociology professor and author of The Minneapolis Reckoning. He is, I think, a sort of vanguard of what a more progressive but still centrist liberal democratic wing of the party could look like. In response to questions, Teddy Shan, a spokesman for Walz, said in a statement that the governor is committed to bringing people with different views and backgrounds together to find common ground and get things done. But yeah, we'll go ahead and end this here. Clearly criticism from both sides on what was being done. But honestly, it's a no-win situation because the people are protesting police violence, so you want to bring in more police to be violent to break up the protests? Yeah, it's a no-win thing. From inequality.org, the low-wage corporations that blew $500 billion to inflate CEO pay. A new report reveals that nearly half of the 100 largest low-wage employers spent more on stock buybacks than on long-term capital investments over the past 5 years. immediate monetary gratification. This year's edition of the annual Institute for Policy Studies Executive Excess Report finds that 100 S&P 500 firms with the lowest median wages, a group we've dubbed the Low Wage 100, blew $522 billion over the past 5 years on stock buybacks. Nearly half of these companies spent more on this once illegal financial maneuver than they spent on capital investment vital for long-term competitiveness. Low-wage firms spend more on stock buybacks than 401ks. Expenditures of the 20 largest U.S. low-wage employers Walmart, Amazon, FedEx, Home Depot, Target, Kroger, Starbucks, Marriott International, TJX, Walgreens, Boots Alliance, Lowe's, Costco Wholesale, Dollar Tree, Darden Restaurants, Dollar General, Hilton Worldwide, Tyson Foods, AutoZone, Chipotle Mexican Grill, and Ross Stores. So yeah, the blue is stock buyback expenditures and the red is contributions to employees' retirement plans. Surprisingly, Walmart does a lot for employment plans, but still, look how much they spend on freaking buybacks. FedEx has a fairly good job on employment plans, but again, look how much they spent on buybacks. At least FedEx is somewhat respectable. Not nearly as bad. Walmart's insane though. Buy back that stock, baby. Woo! Lowe's, you're goddamn pathetic. That's so wrong. The country's 20 largest low-wage employers spent 9 times as much on stock buybacks as on worker retirement plan contributions over the past 5 years. Many of these firms boast of their generous matching benefits, typically a dollar-for-dollar match of 401k contributions up to 4% of salary, but matching is meaningless for workers who earn so little they can't afford to set aside anything for what should be their golden years. Yeah, fucking exactly. Take Chipotle for instance. The Mexican fast food chain spent over $2 billion in stock buybacks over the past 5 years, 48 times as much as the firm contributed to employee retirement plans. Meanwhile, 92% of Chipotle workers who are eligible to participate in the company's 401k have zero balances. That's hardly surprising since the chain's median annual pay is just $16,595 a fucking year. God damn it. You know, dollar for dollar would be nice if you made good wage. Otherwise, that don't fucking cut it. I know a lot of people say, well, you shouldn't be retiring at Chipotle anyway. Guess what, motherfucker? You retire at what fucking business you can afford to find a job at. This isn't the fucking 1980s and 90s anymore where you can retire. 1970s, God forbid. No, this is the shit age of Reaganomics. The age of bullshit that Reaganomics brought us. Where America is fucked, but for the good old money of the rich, baby. Woo! Reaganomics. God damn Ronald Reagan. The evidence is stark. CEOs of leading U.S. corporations are focused on short-term windfalls for themselves and wealthy shareholders rather than on long-term prosperity for their workers or their companies. Exactly. It's all ooh, I gotta make big money. No, fuck you, motherfuckers. Fuck you. Every goddamn last one of you. As UAW President Shawn Fain put it in his primetime DNC convention speech, corporate greed turns blue-collar blood, sweat, and tears into Wall Street stock buybacks and CEO jackpots. Abso-fucking-lutely. They have everything they own to thank for the worker. Remember that, let's see, it's important to remember that it hasn't always been this way. 40 years ago, big company CEO pay was only 40 times higher than worker pay, not several hundreds of times higher, as is typical today. And just 20 years ago, most big companies spent very little on stock buybacks. At Lowe's, for example, stock outlays between 2000 and 2004 were exactly zero. Corporate America's perverse fixation on enriching those at the top is bad for workers and bad for the economy. With the pressure from below, we can change that. But yeah. Yeah. Fuck these companies, these corporations, the fucking rich, all these bastards. I mean, seriously, fuck every goddamn last one of them. Social media demographic stats. So, here's a number of social media groups, and you can see they've got a great breakdown on it. Men, women, age groups, education, ethnicity, and political leanings. Facebook, pretty much women 30 to 49. Less than high school education. White. That leans slightly Republican. That's going to be more often than not who you see on Facebook. YouTube, you'll see more men, 30 to 49. High school or less education, usually white, that lean more Republican. Pretty similar, but instead of women, it's men. Instagram, women, but a pretty even breakdown between 18 to 29 and 30 to 49. And it tends to slightly be more in the favor of those with college or higher education who are white and tend to be more democratic. TikTok tend to be more women who are 18 to 29, high school or less, white, and lean Democratic. X, the shit stain formerly known as Twitter, tends to be more men, pretty even breakdown between 18 to 29 and 30 to 49. That tend to be college educated or higher, white, and a pretty even political ideology breakdown. Reddit tends to be more men, pretty similar breakdown between ages 18 and 29 and 30 to 49. College educated or higher, white, and they really tend to lean Democrat, which is wild. So yeah. But we're not done with the platforms. We've got more. The platform next door. I've not even ever heard of that. Tends to be more women. Pretty even breakdown of 30 to 49 and 50 to 64. More often than not, it's high school or less, white, and they tend to lean more Democrat. Snapchat tends to be more women, 18 to 29, who are high school or less. Pretty even breakdown between Hispanic and white, and they tend to be more Democratic. WhatsApp, pretty close, but women seem to be most of them. They tend to be 30 to 49, high school or less, Hispanic, and Democrat or lean Democrat. LinkedIn, pretty close, but again, tends to be more men who are 30 to 49, college educated or higher, white, and lean Democrat. Now, here, Truth Social tends to be more men who are 50 to 64, high school or less, white, Republican or lean Republican. Look how far that is. I'd say your Democrat or lean Democrats are those just saying, what stupidity is he saying now? But yeah. And then Rumble, mostly men, pretty even breakdown between 30 and 49 and 50 to 64. Mostly high school or less, white, Republican or lean Republican. So you'll notice something I see a lot here. High school or less seems to be the big one. You'll occasionally see college plus, but yeah, high school or less. When it comes to social networks or what they deem social media as far as news consuming, yeah, it tends to be high school or less. Except for LinkedIn, which has those college plus. Because it used to be like job type website where you could put your resume and stuff, information, try to get jobs and job offers and stuff. But yeah, it's some interesting data. Mortality rate for 20 to 24-year-olds by sex. Top map is for males, bottom map is for females. You can see how Africa struggles. Somalia is horrible. And then this little part right here, which Rwanda is pretty bad on both maps. South Sudan, it's pretty bad. The further up you get, though, pretty good. Egypt, I think, I wanted to say Libya, Tunisia, Morocco. No, that should be Algeria. That should be Libya, I think. I believe. Shamefully, I don't have as much knowledge on the African continent as I'd like to have. But yeah. So a lot of Africa you'll struggle with. Now, as far as other nations, in the men, I believe that's Venezuela. And here is Ukraine. So some of the dark places. And then in the women's map, let's see, India, Pakistan, that would be, I wanted to say Afghanistan, but I'm not sure. Because, let's see, that's Iran. Yeah, I think that's Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq. Yeah, so I think that's Afghanistan. Anyway, yeah, we get a good look at mortality rates for the youth around the world. For some countries, the wait time to get family-based visa stretches into centuries. And you wonder why do people come here illegally? You try to come here legally and you'll never get here. Estimated wait time for family-sponsored visas in categories as of 2021. Visa for an unmarried adult child from Mexico, average tends to be around 50 years. Philippines tends to be around 16. Other countries around 14. Yeah, we could shorten that from Mexico by quite a bit. A married adult child visa from Mexico, they can be up to 161 years. They could end up never getting their visa over their lifetime. From the Philippines, it's just as bad, 155 years. All other countries, it still takes 33 years. And then sibling of adult citizens. Mexico, 224 years. I mean, human lifespans just don't last that long. But on average, that's what it can take. Philippines, 64 years. India, 51. All other countries, 45. You know, this needs to be shortened down. Unmarried adult child, it should take about 6 years. Married adult child, instead of 33, we should be looking at maybe 12. Sibling of adult citizens, instead of 45, you know, how about maybe 20 years? And yeah, Mexico, Philippines, the time it's taken to get those fulfilled is bullshit. Bullshit. Yeah, people wonder why they come here illegally. These are sources from the U.S. State Department, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Data was originally compiled in Why Legal Immigration is Nearly Impossible. So yeah, that's some bullshit. You ever want to know why they come here illegally? Because trying to come here legally is not fucking reasonable. This is from archaeology.org. Hunting for the Lost Temple of Artemis. After a century of searching, a chance discovery led archaeologists to one of the most important sanctuaries in the ancient Greek world. Eretria, one of ancient Greek's most prominent influential city-states during the 6th and 5th centuries BC, lay just off the mainland of the island of Euboea, meaning town of rowers. Eretria was among the first Greek cities to establish colonies around the Mediterranean, including as early as the 8th century BC, those at Cumae and Pithecusae on the Bay of Naples. The Eretrians' most sacred place, the one of the most renowned religious sites in the ancient Greek world, was the sanctuary of Artemis Amaricea. Every spring, Aretians paraded out of the city to the sanctuary en masse to celebrate the god's festival. The 1st century BC geographer Strabo records that the processions featured 3,000 armed soldiers, 600 cavalry, and 60 war chariots. This parade would have been followed by dancers, musicians, and townsfolk who marched to the temple of Artemis, or the Artemision, within the sanctuary to sacrifice animals, offer gifts, and perform rituals in the goddess's honor. In addition to the temple, the sanctuary also housed the city's sacred treasures and served as a sort of legal bulletin board where stelas inscribed with various laws and treaties were erected. So yeah. On the peninsula here of Greece, you can see the red dot where it's approximately looking Right here's where Eritrea is. And that's where they believe the Artemision was. Archaeologists just explored Eritrea in the late 19th century and discovered some of the city's monuments, including several temples, a gymnasium, a theater, and sections of the city walls. They also attempted to locate the Artemision, although several ancient writers mentioned the sanctuary. Strabo provided the best clue to its whereabouts, noting that it was located in a village called Amarinthos, precisely 7 stades, a distance equal to about 8/10 of a mile from Eritrea's walls. Since once archaeologists had uncovered these walls, they had a starting place from which to orient their excavations. So yeah. That's cool. It's always good when you're finding out more on history, the information. It's always good to think, a good thing to know. We got us a couple of pictures from history here. This picture is a female Native American telephone switchboard operator, Helen of Mini Glacier Hotel. The image itself is from the 26th of June, 1925. That is awesome. To see how much was going on. You don't think of many Native American locations as having the same level of electrification. I mean, my goodness. It was even later than this that they were putting up line power and everything for the Tennessee Valley, the TVA. So my goodness, yeah. To see the meeting of indigenous people and technology at the time where everything's kind of coming together at once. And here's another image. U.S. and Soviet soldiers hug each other after meeting on the Elbe River on the 25th of April, 1945. Yeah. These were in the closing times of World War II. And while later there would be a Cold War, remember that during World War II, the USSR and the United States were both allies. Because we had a common enemy in Germany. Now, let's get into some news. Ohio sheriff condemned for saying people with Harris yard signs should have their addresses recorded. This is from the AP. Yeah. We saw this earlier, and it's like, dude, how do you think that's something all right to say? An Ohio sheriff is under fire for a social media post in which he said people with Kamala Harris yard signs should have their addresses recorded so that immigrants can be sent to live with them if the Democrat wins the presidency. Good government groups called it a threat and urged him to remove the post. Dude, it's disgusting that you would make such a comment. Truly a Trump backer, if I've ever fucking seen one. Also from AP News, court rules nearly 98,000 Arizonans whose citizenship hadn't been confirmed can vote the full ballot. The Arizona Supreme Court unanimously ruled Friday that nearly 98,000 people whose citizenship documents hadn't been confirmed can vote in state and local races, a significant decision that could influence ballot measures and tight legislative races. The court's decision comes after officials uncovered a database error that for 2 decades mistakenly designated the voters as having access to the full ballot. The voters already were entitled to cast ballots in federal races, including for president and Congress, regardless of how the court ruled. So yeah, again, get your mind out of the fucking gutter with the goddamn, this is trying to rig. No. This is a different issue. They're dealing with the state and down ballot capabilities of voting. They could still vote federally. They've been able to vote federally for quite a while. So yeah, remove that stupidity from your head. Secretary of State Adrian Fontes, a Democrat, and Stephen Richer, a Republican, Maricopa County Recorder, had disagreed on what the status of the voters should be. Richer asked for the higher court to weigh in, saying Fontes ignored state law by advising county officials to let affected voters cast full ballots. Fontes said not allowing the voters who believed they had satisfied voting requirements access the full ballot would raise equal protection and due process concerns. The High Court, which leans Republican, agreed with Fontes. It said county officials lacked the authority to change the voters' statuses because those voters registered long ago and had attested under the penalty of law that they are citizens. The justices also said the voters were not at fault for the database error, and also mentioned the little time that's left before the November 5th general election. So yeah. This is from abc.net, Australia. Ambassador denies U.S. responsibility for Sinaloa violence as death toll rises over 50. In short, at least 53 people have died in Mexico's Sinaloa state as factions of its powerful cartel clash over the arrest of leader Ishmael El Mayo Zambada Garcia in the U.S. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador said the U.S. shared blame for the instability because they carried out the operation which prompted it. U.S. Ambassador Ken Salazar has rejected blame, calling the portion of the responsibility incomprehensible. To be honest, a lot of what happens in Mexico is a result of what's done in the U.S. and has been for a long fucking time. So a lot of it is the U.S.'s responsibility. You know, many of these drug cartels exist because there's a market for it in the U.S. Next article from CNN. Elon Musk didn't show up for testimony in a probe over his $44 billion Twitter takeover. Now the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, wants sanctions. Good, sanction that motherfucker. The SEC intends to seek sanctions against Elon Musk over his failure to appear for testimony in an investigation related to his takeover of Twitter, now called X, the regulator said in a court filing Friday. Earlier this year, a federal judge ordered Musk to testify as part of the SEC's probe of the billionaire's $44 billion acquisition. The agency is examining whether Musk followed the law when disclosing his purchases of Twitter stock and whether his statements in relation to the deal were misleading. So yeah, if you want to live in America, you need to follow American law, motherfucker. Elsewise, go back to goddamn South Africa. From CNBC, the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, sues drug middlemen for allegedly inflating insulin prices. There's no allegedly. They are inflating insulin prices. The FTC on Friday sued 3 large U.S. health companies that negotiate insulin prices, arguing the drug middlemen boost their profits while artificially inflating costs for patients. The suit targets the 3 biggest so-called pharmacy benefit managers: United Health Group's Optum Medicine, CVS Health's Caremark, and Cigna's Express Scripts, and their affiliated group purchasing organizations. The FTC may also recommend suing insulin manufacturer Eli Lilly, Sanofi, and Novo Nordisk in the future. Good. Get those motherfuckers. That's what needs to happen. From The Guardian, Trump rejects Harris's call for a second debate, saying, "It's too late." She spanked you in the first debate, and now you're going, I don't want a second debate. Lady's too good for... She knows things better than I do. It's like, dumb dick. Get over it. He's so petulant. From Axios, Mike Johnson bypassed a second time with rare maneuver. A group of House members from both parties succeeded Thursday in deploying a rarely executed method to bypass GOP leadership to force a vote on a bill to expand access to Social Security benefits. Why it matters? It's the second time this year that a bipartisan group of lawmakers has sidestepped House Speaker Mike Johnson with a tool called a discharge petition. In May, a discharge petition led by Representative Greg Steube of Florida attained a necessary 218 signatures to force the House vote on legislation providing tax relief to victims of natural disasters. The last time a discharge petition succeeded before this year was in 2015, nearly a decade ago. That's the way you're supposed to do things. You're supposed to do things to make America better, not suck the dick of your party. This is from Common Dreams. Trump is the architect of this crisis, says Harris of women killed by abortion bans. Pretty much, yeah, it's his fucking fault because he opened the fucking floodgates. And the states took his offering and fucked over people. So yeah, it is his crisis he created. He is proud that women are dying, said the vice president. Proud that doctors and nurses can be thrown in prison for administering care. Speaking on a campaign event to Atlanta, Georgia on Friday, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris paid tribute to 2 women from the state whose deaths have been deemed by health experts as preventable and the result of the state's 6-week abortion ban. Yeah, it lays at fucking Trump's feet. He is responsible. He can try to deny it all he fucking wants, but it's his fucking fault. But, yeah, from Kyushu University, microplastics found in coral skeletons. Researchers find that all coral components, including its skeleton, contain microplastics. Remember, coral is living. It's not just this rocky expulsion from the beachy bottoms of oceans. They are living in the end, yeah. Researchers from Japan and Thailand investigating microplastics in coral coral have found that all 3 parts of the coral anatomy, surface mucus, tissue, and skeleton, contain microplastics. The findings were made possible thanks to new microplastic detection technique developed by a team and applied to coral for the first time. These findings may also explain the missing plastic problem that has puzzled scientists, where about 70% of the plastic litter that has entered the oceans cannot be found. The team hypothesizes that coral may be acting as a sink for microplastics by absorbing it from the oceans. Their findings were published in the journal Science of the Total Environment. Humanity's dependence on plastics has brought unprecedented convenience to our lives, but has caused untold damage to our ecosystem in ways researchers are still beginning to understand. In the oceans alone, it is estimated that 4.8 to 12.7 million tons of plastics flow into the marine environment annually. So yeah, turns out coral's helping. I don't know if it's intentional, but they're taking a lot of the microplastics out of the ocean. From the University of Arizona study, over nearly 500 million years, Earth's global temperature has changed drastically, driven by carbon dioxide. A new study co-led by the University of Arizona and the Smithsonian offers the most detailed glimpse yet into how Earth's surface temperature has changed over the past 485 million years. Published in the journal Science, the study presents a curve of global mean surface temperatures that reveals Earth's temperature has varied by more than previously thought over much of the Phanerozoic eon, a period of geologic time when life diversified, populated land, and endured multiple mass extinctions. The curve also confirms Earth's temperature is strongly correlated to the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. The start of the Phanerozoic eon, 540 million years ago, is marked by the Cambrian explosion, a point in time when complex, hard-shelled organisms first appeared in the fossil record. Although researchers can create simulations that look back 540 million years, the temperature curve in the study focuses on the last 485 million. Since there is limited geological data of temperature before then, it's hard to find rocks that are that old and have temperature indicators preserved in them. Even at 485 million years ago, we don't have that many. We were limited with how far back we could go, and this study co-author Jessica Turney, a paleoclimatologist and professor of geosciences at the university. But yeah, the entire species evolved to an ice house climate, which doesn't reflect most of geologic history, Tierney said. We are changing the climate into a place that is really out of context for humans. The planet has been and can be warmer, but humans and animals can't adapt that fast. So yes, it has been hotter, but it's been over time. What we are doing is making it hotter, but over a period of time that's just not able to be adapted to. You know, because of greed. From The Guardian, man arrested in Italy nearly 50 years after two Melbourne, Australia women found dead in their home. Or maybe it's Melbourne, Florida. It just says Melbourne women. I'm going to assume Australia, but I might be wrong. It might be Melbourne, Florida. Found dead in their Melbourne home. So, found dead in their home in 1977, and a man has been arrested in Italy over their deaths. Finally. So that's definitely tenacity. From the BBC, Macron unveils new right-wing French government. Yeah, everybody goes, they're liberal, they're leftist. Dipshit. They have been and will continue to be a right-wing government, even though they've got much further right in groups like Marine Le Pen was part of. So yeah, quit being an idiot. From The Guardian, New Zealand pilot held captive in West Papua for 19 months. Very happy after being freed. I'm sure he is. Congratulations, man. From Euronews, thousands march in Tel Aviv demanding a hostage deal. Protests demanding the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his government to reach a deal securing the release of hostages taken by Hamas continued on Saturday. So yeah, while propaganda pushes from Israel and AIPAC to protect their right-wing government in the U.S., they're suffering pressure in Israel because people are like, we just want our loved ones back, damn it. And yeah, Netanyahu can't necessarily guarantee that because some of their own fucking missile strikes have killed some of the hostages. Yeah, so now we're gonna watch us some videos here. Well, let me turn it up slightly so I can hear it too. Israelis offering boat tours in Israel off the coast of Gaza to watch it get bombed and see the place where they plan to build new settlements. Yeah, this has been something that's been said for a while. They want to take over Gaza as part of Israel, which is why they haven't cared about hostages. It's just been genocide.
That same night, while Gaza is relentlessly being erased, they took a boat with the first families, ready to occupy the land of those who are being killed and starved to death.
Fucking terror tourism.
מטרה של גרעיני ההתיישבות להתקרב ככל האפשר לעזה, לראות את עזה כולה ולהבין שמעתה והלאה עזה תהיה כולה יהודית.
You Zionist fucks.
בעזרת השם, עם ישראל ינצח ונזכה לבנות ולראות בשוב השם לציון ובשוב עם ישראל לחבל עזה.
So you're willing to genocide people for Zionist dreams. Fuck you. Can't live in goddamn peace. No, you have to fucking kill whole people, ethnically cleanse. Fuck you. History will never forget.
אנחנו מטילים מצור מוחלט על העיר עזה.
ومش راح يكون في عندكم كهرباء ولا مي بس دمار.
Gaza will become an area where people cannot live.
זהו מאבק, כפי שנאמר כאן, מאבק בין בני האור לבני החושך.
It's an entire nation that...
Yeah. Murderous, genocidal, evil regime. It's just ethnic cleansing, genocide that they're doing. I don't give a shit what your end goal is. Unless you're looking to live in peace together, fuck you.
that is responsible.
אנחנו עכשיו מגלגלים בעצם את נכבת עזה, אם תרצה, נכבת עזה.
אנחנו לא לוקחים בחשבון שחמאס הוא לא האויב, אלא כל עזה הוא האויב.
זכור את אשר עשה לך עמלק, נצטווינו.
הם צריכים לזכור עם עמלק. הם צריכים לזכור את זה להרבה מאוד זמן.
השתמשו הרבה בימים האחרונים במילה נקמה. אני לא קוראת לזה נקמה, אני קוראת לזה צדק.
אני רוצה לשמוע פגזים וארטילריה כבדה.
צריך להקים התיישבות יהודית בשטח רצועת עזה, כדי שתהיה שם נוכחות יהודית לאורך זמן.
Deathmongers, warmongers, genocidal lunatics. Every fucking last one.
שחררתי את כל המעצורים, עושים את הכל.
אנחנו לא נדבר לאויב בשפה מערבית מלטפת, אלא בשפה ערבית.
אז זה לא תחזור להיות משהו, זה ממש לא יהיה. חסל את הכל.
כוח, כוח ועוד כוח.
שלא הם, לא אמא שלהם, לא הילדה שלהם, לא התינוקות שלהם.
אני לא נרדם טוב בלי שאני רואה בתים קורסים בעזה.
אני משטחת את עזה. אין לי סנטימנטים.
אתם תמשיכו לרעוב, תמשיכו למות, הבתים שלכם ימשיכו להישרף. תינוק שם הוא אויב, כיתה באלף הוא אויב, אישה בהיריון הוא אויב.
People like these fuckheads, no, they should be nowhere near reigns of fucking power. Nowhere near it. You know, when this was happening before, but it was happening to Jewish people, it was called the Holocaust. Fuck the Likud Party, Benjamin Netanyahu, and the IDF. Goddamn sons of bitches.
סימטריה! והילדים בעזה, הילדים בעזה הביאו על עצמם את זה!
לא נותרת אבן על אבן בעזה. עזה הופכת לדרזדן.
עוד בתים, עוד מגדלים.
להרוס ולהתקדם, להרוס ולהתקדם.
כמה שיותר גופות.
תשמיד את עזה עכשיו! עכשיו!
Sitting there cheering because they took out. Fuck you. Norwegian footballer Ole Sæter refused a transfer deal to Maccabi Haifa in Israel, saying he won't accept blood money and his morals will not allow him to represent the club. Good on you. Good on you, my man. Good on you.
Rimelig ustabil agent, en rimelig ustabil person, så vi får se hvordan det går, men det blir spennende. Der. Jeg ønsker ikke at det skal være noe blodpenger som kommer på kontoen min, og det hadde føltes veldig sånn, og det blir helt. Det var et tilbud som hadde gjort meg økonomisk uavhengig, men det er et land som jeg ikke har hverken moral eller verdighet til å representere.
Good on you, my man. Good on you. There is no difference between Hezbollah and Lebanon. Lebanon will be annihilated. It will cease to exist. Israel's fucking Minister of Education. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you.
אז אני אומר את זה לצרפתים ולאחרים, מה שנקרא, ממדינות העולם שטוענות את זה. אין שום הבדל בין חיזבאללה ללבנון.
There's no difference between you and the fucking Nazis either, so what's your goddamn point, son of a bitch?
לבנון תושמד לאור כמו שהדברים מתקדמים, ואני אומר את זה אפילו עכשיו בצורה מאוד בוטה. אנחנו באירוע שבו לבנון הולכת לקראת השמדה. לא תהיה אותה לבנון כמו שהם מכירים. אני לא הולך להתעסק בצייד קטיושות של חיזבאללה. את המחיר לתוקפנות מאדמת לבנון תשלם מדינת לבנון.
סליחה, השר קיש, אתה השתמשת במילה, אני לא, אמרת, ביקשת שאני לא אקטע אותך. תושמד. השמדה יש לה במינוח העברי, אתה יודע, לשר הביטחון אמר תחזור לימי האבן.
אתה יודע מה, אני מתקן את דבריי, לא תושמד. לבנון כמו שאנחנו מכירים אותה לא תהיה קיימת, לבנון תשלם את המחיר הכבד בגלל חיזבאללה. ואני מתקן את דבריי, לא תושמד, אבל אני מדייק.
בסדר, כדי ש...
goddamn fucking insane. Palestinian child recounts the horrific moments when an airstrike targeted their home and they were baking, while they were baking, killing over 5 family members and injuring many others.
اجت غارة من بابته مات جنازة شهداء.
ايش كنتوا بتعملوا؟
كنا بنخبز بدنا ناكل. هاي الخبز. عمي ابوي قطعت رجلي سيدي ستي خالتي استشهد. امان الله امان الله استشهد يا الله يا الله يا الله بابا استشهد بابا استشهد. الله يحفظك.
Yeah, fuck the goddamn Likud party, the IDF, Netanyahu, every last goddamn one of those sons of bitches. Fuck them all, motherfucker. Last video, journalist pressures the current spokesperson for the U.S. Security Council, John Kirby, with straight-to-the-point questions about Israel pager explosions.
Yeah. Our sources have confirmed to us it's been widely reported that Israel is responsible for this, but notably you still won't say that. Why is that? Is it because that's not your assessment or because you don't support what they're doing here?
It's because I don't have anything more to add on this issue. As I said, there was no U.S. involvement, and I'm not going to go beyond that today.
Then let me ask this. These kinds of tactics, blowing up pagers and walkie-talkies, is this type of warfare acceptable to the United States?
Again, Mary, I appreciate the question. I'm simply not going to be able to address these incidents over the last couple of days in any level of detail one way or another.
Okay, let me try one other thing.
Please.
You know, everyone keeps urging, all parties involved not to escalate this. Isn't this an escalation already? I mean, isn't this Israel doing exactly what you've been warning them not to do?
Again, I'm not going to speak to the details of these incidents. I understand that's frustrating. I get it. And I understand where all your questions are coming from. They're all valid. They're all fair. I'm just not going to get into this. I will add, if I could, and restate a little bit to what I said to Gabe. We still don't want to see an escalation of any kind. We don't believe that the way to solve where we're at in this crisis is by additional military operations at all. We still believe that the best way to prevent escalation, to prevent another front from opening up in Lebanon, is through diplomacy, which is why Mr. Hochstein was over in the region this week. And we're still going to pursue those kinds of outcomes.
Fuck you, you sack of shit. You need to cut off all goddamn weapons and funding going to Israel. If that is suddenly cut the fuck off and you tell them, look, motherfucker, you get no more fucking defense from the U.S. You do that, they'll probably straighten the goddamn fuck out. But no. No. Too busy sucking the ball sack of Netanyahu. It's fucking disgusting. I'm just so tired of it. I really am. History does not forget. It may ignore things for a while, but the knowledge is always there. And sometimes it just takes time for it to come to the surface. I had never heard of the fucking Tulsa race riots until a few years ago. Yeah. Information always comes to the surface sooner or later. And history will not look kindly upon those who have helped allow a genocide. Every fucking last one of these fucking politicians. You are complicit in the fucking genocide. In ethnic cleansing. And yet you don't have the goddamn gumption to push back and go, no, enough of this bullshit. No, you're too fucking taken by goddamn money. Especially that sack of goddamn garbage, AIPAC. Fuck AIPAC. It should not exist. It is one of the most evil, vile, fucking entities in the world. Fuck AIPAC. Fuck AIPAC. But yeah, this will be the end of this episode. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.